Hey there, you want to know what the 6 things that narcissists do when you go no contact? I'm breaking it all down for you right here in this video, so stay tuned. Hi, I'm Rebecca Zung. I am an attorney. I am an author. And on this channel, I teach people and you how to negotiate with narcissists, how to deal with them, how to manage them, how to get what you want from them. And so if that is you and you want to learn how to do that, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell, and then you'll get notified when I upload new content, when I go live, and all that cool stuff. So now, let's talk about the 6 things that narcissists do when you try to go no contact, which I highly recommend that you do. And I've had to do it myself with a couple of narcissists. It's never fun. It's never great. They try to make it almost impossible. They try to make it so that you really don't want to have to do that. But you definitely do have to do that because they will eventually take over your soul. Like literally, I describe it as like pods. I know there was some movie, like, I don't know if it was in the 60s or something, like a long time ago, where like these pods like came and sat down next to people and like took all of their like information and like basically took over their bodies. And that's how I feel about narcissists. Like they're these pods that just come into your life and steal you. And you end up feeling like you're like being choked to death, or like, I don't know, my situation, where I talked a lot about this, by the way, in a couple of recent videos. One was my toxic relationships, and the other one was, I don't normally share this, my own story of bullying. But like in my situation, I felt like one of the narcissists was literally trying to like become me, like stand in my shoes and be me, but also like was devaluing me and doing things to me at the same time. It was super weird and really awful. And so that's kind of how you start to feel, right? And so you have to go no contact in order to like, it's like not too dramatic, I don't think, to say like save your soul. Like that's how I felt. So, but you do want to know what's going to happen when you go to do that, right? So let's talk about that now. So the first thing is that they're going to maybe try to start going back to what worked for them before. Because remember, there's those 3 different ways that they interact in relationships. There's the 3 different phases, which is love bombing, devaluing, and discarding. And by the way, I have videos on each one of those if you want to go check them out. But they start off with love bombing, or that idealization phase, where they show up, whether it's, it's not always a romantic, it can be a business situation, which it was for me. And they show up in your space and they seem like they're absolutely perfect. And then they start to devalue you. And then, there's the discard phase, but they kind of go back and forth between the phases. So they're going to go back to what worked before. We can always work this out. We've always been so good together. We've always been able to do things. Why do you need to be so rigid? Why do you need to be so difficult? Try to like get you to be charmed by them again. Whatever that worked before to charm them, they'll go back to that. And sometimes it's called hoovering, where they're basically coming back and saying, oh, maybe I haven't talked to you in a while, and suddenly you get that ping in your inbox or in your DMs or whatever, and you're like, oh, I haven't talked to that person in a while. What are they doing here? So they're going to go back to trying to charm you in some way. So that's number 1. The next thing is that they may try to escalate their tactics, like come on even stronger, like you barely feel like you can breathe sometimes with them. Like now all of a sudden they're showing up at your house, they're showing up at your office. They happen to be talking to everybody that like you just can't get away from this person. There they are. They may call you incessantly, they may text you incessantly. They may escalate their efforts on all the bad things that they're doing, manipulating situations, projection, denial, deflection, lying, all the things that they normally do, but now on steroids. Because remember, with a narcissist, you're either for them or against them. They're very black and white, So they may escalate their tactics. You see like them coming on much more strongly. And then the third thing that they will likely do when you go no contact is start that triangulation, which is kind of, you know, in the discard phase, that's when you start to see the birth of the smear campaign. So they'll escalate even the triangulation, meaning that they're lining up their flying monkeys. They're talking to people that you know. They want you to feel excluded. They want you to feel isolated. They want you to be punished for going no contact with them. So they want you to think that they're doing great and you are making a huge mistake by going no contact with them. That they're going to have everybody in your world against you, and everyone's going to line up for them, and everyone's going to think you're the crazy one, or you're the bad one, or maybe you're the narcissist, and they'll try to divide you in that way. So, you know, isolate you, manipulate situations, triangulates, that smear campaign. So that's like kind of all goes into number 3, as far as like triangulation, smear campaign, and you know, lining up flying monkeys against you. So that's the third thing. And if any of you have seen this before, I want you to tell me I've seen it in the comments below, because I'm sure you've totally seen this before. Okay, so now let's talk about the fourth thing. So the fourth thing is that their narcissistic injury could be triggered, and so therefore that narcissistic rage comes flying out. So now they're not just trying to hoover you, they're not just pushing you more, they're not just triangulating, they're not just escalating. Now it's like they're in full-on rage. Like, you will do what I want, you will come back, you know, you will be punished. And sometimes I think they go into this rage state just so that you're afraid, just so that you are punished. Not just that they're angry. I mean, I know that they're angry too. You know, they're like 2-year-olds in adult bodies. So they're literally having a tantrum now. They're literally like super angry. And sometimes during this phase, that's when they start to actually become undone. They start to make mistakes. And that's when you know you're starting to close in on them. And you know, in a negotiation setting, that's when you know that your tactics are actually starting to work. And that's when you are actually the most vulnerable to going, oh my God, I don't think I have the stomach for this. But that's when you got to keep going, because narcissists are always the worst right before they're ready to give up. And I do have a whole video on the undoing of a narcissist, which I broke down the show, that Hugh Grant show. That's a really great example of a malignant narcissist who was like continuing to do things, but the more people figured out who he was, the more mistakes he started to make, and that became his undoing. So that leads me to number 5, which is the narcissistic collapse, which sometimes they do. They completely collapse. They just become undone. They don't know what to think about their world, because, you know, they do have a very fragile sense of self. You know, for them, the world is a place of survival, that they have to survive. And so sometimes they do collapse, and that's number 5. And the last thing is that eventually, if you do it the right way and you create the right strategy and you have the right leverage and you figure out how to cut off any source of supply from you, that means you're not intimidated, you're not scared, your fear goes away, all of that, because now they just realize they're not getting any supply from you anymore at all. And, you know, they're like vultures. So like there's nothing left in this carcass over here. So they will eventually, and this is number 6, go find narcissistic supply somewhere else, because they have to have it. It is what they feed on. It's their lifeblood. It's their oxygen. But you just want to make sure that you are no longer a source of that narcissistic supply for them. So eventually your no contact will absolutely work. So if you want to get the edge on them, you want to know how to negotiate with a narcissist, make sure to grab my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. And join me in my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. I'd love to see you in there as well. And if you like this video, give it a like, give it a share, drop me that comment, tell me you've seen it. I know you have. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, now is a great time to do that. Subscribe and hit that notification bell. And I'm so glad that you stopped by my channel. Remember, today is a great day to start negotiating your best life. I'll see you in the next video.